Welcome to The Open Queue, a podcast where we talk about entertainment, pop culture, and the daily life of navigating the entertainment industry as a creative. I'm your host, Shaka Omari, and I'm joined by my business partner, Charles Malone. We'll sometimes have other creative guests on to tell us about their journey in the industry, dealing with their ups and downs, struggles, and successes. We'll also touch on current changes to the business of television and film, as well as cue up what we're watching, listening to, or a piece of art we've been inspired by. The music you're listening to is the Smokestack Twins from the movie Sinners, composed by Ludwig Göransson. And now, let's get queued up. All right. Well, this is our first podcast, and welcome. I'm Shaka Omari, and I'm here with...
I think we already did this. Charles Malone.
Hey, it's the first one. Just want to make sure people know what's going on.
Yeah.
This is our podcast. Both of us are in the industry. We have started our own production company, just to give you a little background on us. And we've been going through this for a couple of years now, right? Like working in this industry. I think what is it, like 10 years maybe?
Close to say. It's almost the 10-year mark when you've made it, whatever making it is nowadays.
Yeah, that is the question. What is success in this industry? So we decided we'd get together and just talk about our journey and pick people's brains because, I think everyone knows the industry is kind of contracting a bit and there's lots of stuff with AI. But I think we should first start off with, what are you watching?
Yeah, but before I get into watching it, just want to say this is actually a Turing test podcast. Are we AI or are we real? Can you tell?
That's a good... Okay, so see, that is... That's going to lead me to a show that you had me watch recently, Pantheon, which I thought was really interesting. And I feel like we could do a whole podcast on that. We should probably do that next time because it has to deal with what is reality, what is AI. And I think we've seen with this Google, what is it, Vero that just came out? Mm-hmm. Some of that stuff looks incredibly real. Like, I don't know if we're cooked or not.
I don't know. I still think there's a place for human creation. Like AI is not going to completely disrupt everything. I knew a young kid that started a vinyl production company with his brother. And I think going into it, they were just doing it off of their passion for like vinyl and records. And they actually flew to Italy and I guess did this internship under this vinyl maker and learned how to make all these funky vinyls. I don't think they got into it thinking that man, we're going to become millionaires. And they were just doing it off of the passion for it. They knew that it was an old piece of technology or a way to listen to music. And it was just a love of doing it. And they eventually did do well and sold their company. But originally they're never expecting to make money off of this. They did it for the love of it. And I think sometimes as creatives, we put too much pressure on succeeding or making money or becoming financially successful that we kind of lose some of the love for the journey and the art.
I think I'd have to agree with that because recently I've been kind of on this journey of watching some of the stuff that's come out this year. And, going from Sinners to Thunderbolts to Andor, which you should watch. I know you watched the first season of Andor. You've got to watch the second season. There's a lot of things in those projects, those works of art, where it's more than just entertainment. I feel like it's something that the creatives have to say. And I think it's resonating with the audiences because it's deeper than just, hey, this is just fun. This is special effects. And this is how we can make back our money and our budget. And I'm wondering if that's what's been going on with the industry lately is, to your point, I mean, do you feel like the industry has leaned a little bit more towards making the business side versus the creative artist side?
The entertainment business?
Mm-hmm.
I would say the essence of it is in the latter of the name. I think it's always been a business. And it's been built off of the backs of creatives, but it definitely seems like it was always a business first because whoever's funding or financing these projects, they do want a return on that investment. I think it's definitely got more risk adverse. So there is a lack of creativity to try to focus on making as much money as possible, which is why we're seeing so many, I'm going to sigh here, remakes and reboots and sequels and prequels. And every time we see something, and I know we're going to talk about this, but original like Sinners, you're like, oh man, this is the most profitable original thing to come out since what, 2019 or the pandemic? And you're like, yeah, people are tired of seeing the same stuff. Like if I have to play another version of Final Fantasy VII, or if they make a goddamn on Final Fantasy VII animation or movie, I'm just like, when are you just gonna let Cloud die?
Hold up. Okay, as a fan of Final Fantasy VII, all right, it's dope. To be fair though, I haven't actually gone all the way through the second one because I don't want to call it fatigue, but there's just so much to do and I don't have enough time to dedicate towards it. But some things I think are worth like continuing on.
I think that it's great to expand these worlds. And you know, you love the characters, but more than anything, most of the time you fall in love with like the story and the world itself, and give us a different piece of this world. You know, I'm so tired of the Skywalker storyline.
Fair. I'll give you that.
And the best movie to come out of Star Wars in a long time was Rogue One, and had nothing to really do besides Vader showing up for one badass scene that had nothing to do with the film, really.
Which is why you need to watch Andor. I'm just going to drop that again.
I know.
Well, it's funny that you speak about that because, like you said, we're going to talk about Sinners. I saw an article recently in which they were saying that there may be a Sinners sequel.
Yeah, but I mean, spoiler alert, if you didn't see the movie end credit scene, like I feel like they're kind of
hinting at that.
Yeah, setting it up. Which I'm like, would I think they'd have to bring back the Native Americans? And more so, they don't have to, but I really hope that they do, right? Because they had that like quick scene where they're chasing an old Irish dude. What's his name?
Remick.
I want to Remy Martin. They're chasing Remick, and then we don't see or hear from them again. So I hope they find a way to bring that back.
That'd be interesting. So before we get into Sinners, I know I asked the original question. Is there anything that you've read recently or been watching recently that has inspired you or reignited your fire for this industry? Or are you at a point now where you feel like, I'm not even sure if I still want to do this?
No, I'm a glutton for punishment. And I genuinely love what we get to do as professional creatives. When it's done right, or I wouldn't even say right, just like when you get to do this as a profession and like live off of it, even if it's not like a lavish living, it's almost no high that can compare for it. I ran into another writer who is, you know, on a project that's coming to an end, and we were just sharing the drug experience of being creative. Like when you finish a project or you're working on something that like the high highs and the low lows of this industry, it's a wild roller coaster, but there's almost nothing that can beat having a like successful project come out and do well. And you're like, yeah, you just scored a goal at the World Cup, man. You're just like, yeah. Sometimes just run around my house, like, you know, and there's different phases of that. Like when you're taking something out and then someone like picks up your project and you're like, yeah. And then the lull of like, well, the development process is but like, it was a nice little mini win. And I think celebrating those small milestones and wins along the line kind of like helps with the uncertainty and the ups and downs of this industry. But when you hit,
nothing like it.
And at this point, I don't even know what I would like if I quit now, I genuinely don't know what I would do. And I'm saying creative of all mediums, music, video games, just, you know, when you hit as a creative, it feels good.
I think that's why we do what we do, man. Like it's just one of those things that you just can't quit. It just pulls you in. It's kind of like a calling. You know, that series you had me watch on Netflix, The Films That Made Us, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for inspiration when battling to whatever your decision of success is in this industry, I think looking at some of those and seeing just how hard it is to make these movies, it is a risk. You don't know what's going to hit and what doesn't. But when it hits, man, you're just like, let's do it again, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you asked me what am I watching lately that's inspirational, but before I say what I'm watching, the most recent, I will say The Films That Made Us, both the Christmas and regular series, is a great one to watch. Not only just the ups and downs of this, I think so often there's this expectation that you have to like know everything and that you can't know something or someone's going to take you less serious. And I wish more people were okay saying that, like, I don't know, or I can figure it out, or being resourceful. Because my favorite thing about most of those episodes, of somewhere in there, it was someone's like first time stepping into a role, or I never produced something before, or like I had no clue how I was going to get this money. And you're going off of raw passion and you figure it out, and then you now know for the next project, and you slowly learn from each project. So it's that, in that aspect, it was really inspirational for me. It took off the pressure of like, you have to know everything. You don't. And if you're stepping into a leadership role from like a junior role, it's like you surround yourself by people who know how to do the things that you don't, and you focus on the vision. But yeah, I really like that. The things that I watched recently that gives me hope for like creativity of like original ideas. Pantheon, which a lot of people already said is like really similar to the movie Transcendence with Johnny Depp, just done better. Common Side Effects.
Yes, man, you got me on that one.
Common Side Effects blew me. It was just so good. The art style so fun and kooky, but the story underneath had such like weight to it and depth. And Thunderbolts. Believe it or not, like Thunderbolts completely caught me off guard on like how a superhero comic book film could again have such emotional depth and a message to say about like mental health and depression, that I was going in to watch a popcorn movie and then everyone around me started crying. I was like, whoa, okay, I get it. Yes. Yeah, it was sneaky.
Yeah, that was all of us. I really thought I was just going to be like, yeah, okay, this is a Marvel movie, you know, it's going to be, especially in their last couple of movies since Endgame. I thought it was like, oh yeah, it's just going to be fun. It's going to be a bunch of people beating each other up, and we're just going to continue on this bigger universe and see where these characters go. But I remember being in the movie, and my friend turned to me and was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to cry. And I was like, stop saying that, because I'm about to cry. And I think that was really cool, because it was a bunch of us, you know, speaking on mental health, a bunch of us guys who sometimes I think men don't take the mental health seriously, or as serious as we should. And to just have that emotional reaction in an action movie, brilliant. I mean, like, that to me was, again, art. You know, that's what, or at least why I want to do this.
Yeah, dudes, talk to your dudes. I mean, not to oversimplify something, but like, yeah, you know, we're here to talk about entertainment, but at the same time, I think we could get on our little lonely island and suffer in silence when you never know if your homie is going through something similar. So yeah, talk to each other. Also, like, women, talk to your dude.
Yes, please. So now that we know what we're watching, I was just curious, was there anything recently business-wise that, you know, has perked your interest, or anything that you've seen coming down the pipeline in any of the trades that you're kind of like, okay, that's interesting? I know you mentioned AI earlier.
I mean, who isn't talking about, what sector of business isn't talking about AI? If it's like, you're a psychologist taking AI notes with your like clients for their therapy sessions, or a YouTube creative just figuring out how to like streamline your everywhere. AI is the easy answer. AI. Yeah. There's even the Natasha Leone. Is that her name?
The one that's in Poker Face, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like she's just that character in real life. That's just her. She's not acting. And I guess she's acting being her in these situations.
Hey, as an actor, you bring yourself to the role.
As they say, stop acting, start living. Yeah, I won't start ragging on actors. It's just funny because I've always actually had a crush on her since, but I'm just a cheerleader. But it's just like now seeing her play, like, oh, you're just this kooky person in real life. Okay.
Yeah, I know how you are with actors. That's why I love it.
No, the thing she's doing with I forget the dude with the dreads. It looks like he's from the Matrix.
Which
like, oh, dude, I'll have to pull it up on the computer.
Yeah.
They're making an AI feature together.
Right. I did see something about that in the article, that they're planning on using AI to make a feature. And I know that that's something that you have mentioned, is that like, as an artist and creative, and I guess maybe we should have given a little bit of background. You know, you producer / director, you've been saying it's a tool and that people shouldn't be afraid of it.
It's because there's no stopping it. All you could hope is that there's some guardrails or relegations that kind of like could help protect creatives from getting their art worked, or someone just throwing in a prompt and like copying what they already do, but it's not going anywhere. And you're just going to get left behind by trying to be scale. Oh, this new piece of technology, we're all doom and gloom. Like, too bad. You can't stop. This train's already taking off. Like, where do you learn to use the tools? And honestly, it could be really helpful. I think sometimes we get gatekeepy and precious as creatives of like protecting humanity. I'm guilty of someone who's like, it's hard for me to do a soulless project. Like, I'm definitely not a person for hire. Like, I try to find projects that have a soul or something to say, or like a pulse. So I've been guilty of like, I can't do this. It's like, this is meaningless. Like, what is this even for? What does it say? But are we too precious? Because like, what's the difference between you, Shaka, writing a short story, a treatment, and then going to a screenwriter to help you like write a first draft because your strength is not writing? And is it just solely because you're taking that job away from the writer that you would hire? But what if you don't know any writers? What if you're like a kid in Nebraska? Not to just pick Nebraska out of nowhere, but I imagine there's not.
Nebraska.
Yeah, for real. What did Nebraska do to me? I'm sorry, y'all. Sometimes I just be shooting straight. Like, people catching strays out here. I gotta really like pull it in. But no, seriously, you're in the middle of like a place where there's not a lot of writers, right? You don't have a lot of big film community, you know? Not everyone is as resourceful of like, you can go to Reddit or you can go to all these different forums and find someone to help you. Is there any difference of like using AI to help you get that first draft out or organize your thoughts than going to another writer? Like, you're still not writing it yourself.
I mean, it's an interesting point that you bring up with that. I never thought about it that way, but yeah, for somebody who may not have access to the resources, you know, this is a great way to kind of, I don't want to say level the playing field, but open up the gates to helping them elevate themselves or be a part of the whole machine. So I could see that from that aspect. And I think there's something to be said about like having part of the humanity, like the taste in there, because I saw this really interesting, I wish I had gotten the name of it, this interesting meme, I guess you could say, where they were joking about someone going in to see a film and they could either see an AI generated film or a live action film. And they were saying the live action film would cost a lot more because you've got to pay the actors, but the AI film would be cheaper. But then they gave you the option of, do you want it with ads or without ads? And so it started tacking on because they had to make money out of it, the business side. And I guess all of that, I'm saying all of that to say that I do still feel that there is something about human beings doing something. So taking an AI to give you your treatment, but then still having your human taste added to it, that AI is not going to replace, no matter how much you train it on human data, because it's just going to regurgitate. Like, somebody needs to look at it and say, let's try this or do something different. At least that's my opinion.
You know, I think AI is eventually going to pick up on trends and be able to kind of like predict the next thing at some point in time. But right now, I think it's the way to survival. I think one of the things I think is oversimplified, but also was a nice little like, here it is in the simple little few words. It's like high productivity plus taste equals survival. Like, using these tools to continue helping you put stuff out and get and like make things, then take them from like your head to this tangible thing on paper that you can share with other people, and just trying to use your own art's subjective, man. Like, things that are funny to me might not be funny to other people. I have a really dark sense of humor, so I personally know that some of the things that make me laugh might make other people cringe or just say like, that's in bad taste, Charles. So who are we to say? I know we didn't even get on sinners yet, but yeah. AI is definitely a big one. I'm also a big fan of like VR, whether it's for gaming or just experience. I think it's a thing that's not going anywhere and that's slowly just still cooking in the background. So just tech and storytelling, video games.
Yeah, that's
another form of storytelling.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it all boils down to what tool do you want to use to get your story out there? And it's still going to have somewhat of a human element.
Yeah, and not to harp on this like taste thing, but what is it called? Expedition 33 was a game that kind of like hit the market, and everyone's like, oh, this developer left Ubisoft and like, you know, decided to make this game on his own over the last 5 years, and he found his head writer off of Reddit, and he found this composer that never composed video games before, and they put this ragtag team together to make this game that just launched and sold like 1 million copies, and everyone's like, this game's amazing, and I'm 45 minutes into it and it's boring for me.
I did not see that twist coming.
And like, I'm trying so hard. My best bud, like, literally was like, oh man, we're gonna love this game, and it's just so freaking slow. Like, the way the characters move are slow, the story moves at a slow pace, and like, Boulder Gate is not everyone's cup of tea. I love that game, and that game's too slow for people. So like, I'm sitting here surrounded by people who are like, it's like the Dark Knight all over again for me. It's like the Dark Knight came out and I was like, this is the best thing ever. And I was like, the Joker was the best thing ever. The rest of the movie is okay.
Okay. See, the podcast is about to go off the rails here, because what? Hey, look, I'm gonna give Heath Ledger his props. Yes, the Joker made that movie, but as I've always said, a hero is only as good as his villain. And so I feel that was a complete picture, a complete movie. Like, I dug it.
I'm surrounded again. I know what I was saying was controversial. I knew exactly what I was.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, with that, I think we should talk about Sinners, because now I'm really curious to know what your thoughts are on Sinners, because I know a lot of people loved this movie.
They did, and I also loved Sinners, but I'm not going to sit here like, you can't critique anything because like, oh no, it's amazing. You can't say anything bad about a thing. It's still like art, and you still can have like, and it's not even nitpicky. I just had one part that just, I felt he let his imagination run and no one checked him on it.
Okay. So I'm just going to go at this point in time and say spoiler warning. So if you have not seen the movie by now, you may want to back out, but we're going to go into detail on Sinners because yeah, this is one of the movies I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that I felt really inspired me. And now I'm very curious as to what my producing partner, Charles here, has to say.
I loved Sinners. I was completely like blown away by such a fun original vampire story, because it's been a minute since we've seen like good vampire movie. So in that sense, it's like, oh man, all these cool black places, black movies always have like an amazing soundtrack. And more than that, the story was generally, I have no problem with the story. I actually love the story. I love the emotional journey of the brothers. Like it's a movie that I'm going to own and I'm going to rewatch and dig into, because I feel like there's so many like,
it's layered,
cheeky little things in there. On top of it being layered, I was like, oh, you fudgers are like cheeky. I see what you're doing here. But it's one of those movies that I had a hard time turning off my brain, where like, I want to analyze this film, but like, I also want to just like enjoy it and watch it. So I started off with like, okay, like the opening sequence right away, like I was like, this like African gods and lores and things. I was like, yes, I'm digging it. And I was like, I'm just going to watch this. And then I then started to like, okay, I see what you guys are doing. So I would like slip back and forth between like just enjoying the experience, but also then trying to like break it down.
Okay. So I actually have a question on that, because I find myself doing the same thing too. Do you feel that now that you've worked in the industry, because this is my opinion, you've worked in the industry, that you don't watch movies the same way? Like you almost start to like break it down and analyze it from a producer standpoint versus just like an audience member?
Well, the simple answer is yes. I will say, if you ask anyone close to me, I've always watched movies in this way of like trying to understand them, and just maybe as someone who like wanted to make movies. But now that I know how things are made, it's worse.
Yeah.
It's worse. Like, well, I really get pulled out of things when I can tell like it's on a lot, or the like lighting is like insanely artificial, and it's a world I'm supposed to buy into, but it's so hard because I can just tell that this is on a lot.
Yeah, you can see the nuances.
And it like it pulls me out. And then you ruin it for your partner who may have not seen it before. And you're like complaining about things they didn't see. And now it's too late because now they can.
Continuity. Yeah. It's like, wait a minute, his shirt was wet in one scene and in the next one he's not.
I'm actually really forgiving on continuity.
Really?
I get it. I've worked with some actors that like won't do the same take twice.
Okay, see, look, there you are with the actor thing, and I know who you're talking about. All right, okay.
And it's great because they give you variety, but then you're like, oh, I gotta really Frankenstein this together.
Hey, look, sometimes we're just in the moment. All right. In defense of all actors, we're in the moment.
I could be talking about Robert Downey Jr. because I heard he does
Don't
that.
try to be slick. Don't try to be slick.
No, but Sinners, it was one of those movies that was so well done that I was trying to like take as much from it as I could as like, you know, when you're...
Dude, how many times did you see it?
Well, only once right now.
Okay.
I got a kid, man. It's like, going to the movies.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
A 2.5-year-old, it's getting to the movie theaters. I'm going to have to wait for it to come out, and then I can watch as many times as I want.
Got it. Okay.
But it was a movie that I made sure to see in theaters because it's worth it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess if I'm just going to jump to the only thing that took me out of the world.
Please.
Is simultaneously, by the way, one of my like favorite scenes and sequences. I just thought it was unnecessary to the story, the way it was drug out, and it pulled me out of the world. As it did my fiance. We like kind of looked at each other and were like, this is going on for a long time. It's when he's pulling in, Preacher Boy starts like playing his first jam, and he started bringing in the ancestors. And the ancestors were fine. But then the breakdancer came in, and then the twerking in the kitchen, and then they brought the future up, and it's like, man, I know that like music is transcending time as a part of our culture, and it like, but I think the future bit just completely took me out of the present moment in the film, and I love it for what it is, but for the story, it just pulled. If they just kept just the ancestor bit, I would have been fine. But then they brought in the future, and I was like, this is a little too absurd for me.
I could see that. I mean, I hear you. I could see that. Yes. I will admit, when I saw it, and you know, I went to go see it late at night because I'm not a horror person. Everybody knows that. So on this podcast, if we discuss anything horror, it's going to be coming from Charles. I went to go see it anyways because I really felt like I should see this movie. And that moment really impacted me because, you know me, I love music and I love to dance. And I understand the imagery he was going for. Sometimes you just fall into the music and you forget about, you know, like Outkast said, you forget about all the troubles of the day, you know, Spuddy Dope Delicious Angel. So it did jar me when the electric guitar, you know, George Carlin, is it George Carlin or is that the comedian? P-Funk, you know, the guitar came into, and I was kind of like, ooh, okay. But I did see what he was going for. I did see how he was saying, not only is Preacher Boy, which I think this is what you're saying, Preacher Boy's music is built on the ancestors' music, but everything coming from the future as well is built on blues, the ancestral music, all of that kind of stuff. So it was kind of, I think, for me at least, in the living in the modern era, to be like, oh yeah, I am connected to my ancestors, and what I build now, which I think is like art, in words of Gladiator, echoes into eternity, like everything it is that we do in this life. So while it did take me out because it was so like, oh, we're mixing everything, right? Yeah, I agree. I did like in my mind, I guess, the beauty or the poetry of what he was trying to show, and how they brought the house down with the whole burning the house down thing.
The roof is on fire.
The roof is on fire. I think, you know, for those of you that know us, you've seen us at, you know, out and about at the clubs, you know, RIP the Den, and have seen us tear up the dance floor and bring the house down. And that I think resonated with me a lot in that aspect.
There's within Sinners and just the culture is that, you know, I'm not even gonna, like, we are the culture. I mean, we are the culture. Not even just like you and I going into these dry places and just not intending to turn these into dance floors or it becoming a place to go, but just being in a crap situation and being bored and just having fun, enjoying ourselves. And I think we've done that as a people of take, you know, the scraps of what's handed to us and turn it into something that everyone wants to consume and enjoy. Is both Sinners as a movie and the story and what we do as a people.
You know, that brings up that brings up something really interesting for me on this. So I've watched the movie about 3 times, 3 times in theater, and I've already pre-ordered it. At the beginning of the movie, when the Smokestack twins are like waiting for Hogwood or whatever to come in, off in the background corner, there are 2 vultures circling. And as Hogwood pulls up, a 3rd vulture swoops down into frame and then goes back and joins it. It's the same vultures we see when Remick shows up at the Ku Klux Klan house. And then those same vultures show up the night of when everything is starting. And some of the things I've been reading on the internet is while vultures represent death, right? Because Hogwood is bringing death. The twins, you know, there's death surrounding them. It also made a really interesting allegory to culture vulture, speaking of what you're saying, is how we create joy out of the scraps that are given to us. And then someone comes in and sees that joy and says, well, hey, we want to make money off of this. Come join us. Come give up your culture. We want this so all of us can experience it. And it's almost like, while that seems to make sense, it's a lie. Like, I think the idea of the vampirism, the culture vulturism, you go and assimilate, but you lose your soul, your culture in the process.
Man, you're just starting. I don't want to, like, I only sigh because I can go off on like 8 different tangents about this. I'm just going to try to keep it contained. The first thing is that this reminds me of Get Out, when you make something as a creative that's so impactful and so commercially successful that everyone just starts placing their theories on what the writer or director meant. And I'm not saying that that wasn't intentional to be culture vultures or about death. I just love when people start reading into stuff and come up with their own theories. That I used to watch some of the old Jordan Peele interviews, and he was like, yeah, I didn't think that, but I'll take it. Like sometimes, you know, as a director myself, there's your vision you have in it, and then like people then read into that, and sometimes it's their interpretation is better than the thing that
they actually intended.
Yeah, you actually intended, and that's kind of what I hope it meant to be, a double entendre kind of thing with the vultures and death and culture vultures. But I don't know. That's just my first thing with that. The culture vultureness. It's just such a sensitive ass topic. This is not going to be PC, y'all, because I'm a RIP Paul Mooney. And just say what Paul says. Everybody wants to be a nigga, but nobody want to be a nigga. And you know, you see that with a lot of young kids that aren't black or brown growing up. They want to consume the music, the fashion, the entertainment. And I think sometimes we reduce ourselves to just entertainment when we had such more impact on like innovation and invention. But then they grow up and shit changes. And then they do want to be a vulture, and the vulture in the sense that they want to pick the pieces that they want and then discard the rest. And this has been coming up a lot recently. My favorite meme, it's these like little gray blobs and these blue blobs. I think I may have sent you this meme, but historically, even to today, you know, as people start throwing on black fatigue, which is something, just another deep sigh. I'll get into it. But white culture is like, hey, you guys don't belong over here. So we go, okay, we'll go make a space for ourselves. We start enjoying ourselves. It looks fun. And it's like, hey, you're excluding us. And it's like, no, you told us we didn't fit in. So we just like doing our own jam over here. And it's like, yeah, but that's not fair. And we always take the high road. So we're like, all right, come get down. And then they're like, you don't belong here either. The place we created for ourselves that we just invited you into, now we don't belong here that you're here. And it's rinse and fucking repeat.
Okay, so that's interesting that you bring that up, because to your point, sometimes people read into the movies and things like that and get things deeper than what maybe the artist intended, which is what I love about art. Two people can look at something and get something completely different. That being said, what you just described there, do you think that kind of goes with what Remick was doing when he was trying to be invited into this space, and all of them were at the door, and they're like, well, no, this is our spot. I think you're looking for the place down the street. You know, Remick obviously acts so shocked, and they're like, you know, are you part of the clan or whatever? What? No, sir. Doesn't that kind of, do you think that scene kind of encapsulate what you were just saying about that meme? They went, bought this juke joint, this place, this sawmill, created their own space. Remick saw it, saw them having a good time, wanted to join because he wanted Sammy's spot, wanted Sammy's thing, assimilate them into it, and then discard the rest.
Maybe. There's a simple answer. Well, with Remick, I'm going to project something onto Coogler and the writers of this that I hope they intended when they were writing the character Remick, is that he's one of these villain antagonist characters that you can actually argue both directions.
Right, the tragic villain.
Yeah, and I actually really love it because, like, was he equal opportunity? His thing was just a consuming hate. He was equal opportunity hate. Like, he didn't want to suffer alone. He wanted to make his own space. And he technically was inclusive.
Right, right.
So, yes and no. And I like that you can play devil's advocate with Remick's character because, like life, everything is not just black and white. And it's different degrees of gray. So, yes and no.
Yeah. That's so I'm going to go down the rabbit hole with a lot of these theories that I've been seeing. That is something that people were saying, is that Remick, he speaks about his Irish heritage, which I found this part to be very interesting in the breakdown, right? When he first shows up, he shows up kind of like a fallen angel or whatever. And he drops down burning on fire. That's the symbolism somebody had mentioned, and I thought, okay, that was kind of interesting. And then when they open up the door and they ask him who it is, the first thing he says is, the Choctaw are after me. To which they say, oh, there's no Indians, using their colloquialism, around here. You sure it wasn't some light-skinned people? To which, when he sees the Ku Klux Klan thing, he then switches his tactic, says Indians, and then offers them money, which I found interesting in that aspect, because when he's telling the whole story at the end, where he's saying the Lord's Prayer, and he's saying those words were the same words that were told to me as they took my grandfather's land, but they always brought me comfort. It kind of, to me, felt like, to your point, Remick became what it is he hated, which is the assimilation and the destruction of his culture. And he's trying to get back to it. And he's offering the same thing to Sammy and the rest for the advantage of having access to his ancestry. But it's no different than what happened to him, because Sammy now has to give up his soul, basically, and live on this earth kind of in this hateful environment, which I think is why Annie calls them vampires worse than just the hates, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, though, they're pulling from. And I hope in, like, the sequel or somewhere, I was hoping to see boohags, which are, like, this, like, hoodoo folklore monster that kind of like skinwalkers. Dude, if you Google some images, it's creepy, and I want someone to put that into something.
Of course you would, with the horror stuff.
Yeah, oh, dude, it's kind of like grotesque, and you like, yeah. So I hope, if you're listening, take that. Go ahead. Someone do it. I'm trying to, but someone beat me to it. Yeah, with Remick and this movie as a whole, I think at least a few people, so I won't speak to a larger group of people because I haven't talked to everyone, it's making some Black people question their belief system, because what did we believe in culturally before coming to this land, and before Christianity was forced upon people in Africa? What were the original gods and belief systems before Christianity? And it's making people feel like, I know one in particular too, actually, that like didn't know how they felt about the movie, because it's making themselves question what they believe if it was forced upon them, which they obviously don't want to think about, because then it breaks everything that who you are was built upon. I think it's really fascinating. Yeah. I love this movie because there's just so much to dig into. That's why it's like my one critique of like that piece being really jarring and taking me out of it doesn't completely throw away the whole, how much I loved the rest of the movie.
Interesting.
And can I just say they also touch on like colorism within the Black community itself, because of like white passing people and like light skinned people. And I think that both externally and internally in society, I think we sometimes treat Black people and Black culture as a monolith. Like there's just one Black experience, as if, I grew up, and much like yourself, people saying like, well, everyone in your house speaks so well. And you're always like, as opposed to what? And I think, we've gotten tricked into thinking that being educated and articulate and like, this is just being assimilating to whiteness, and like no one owns betterment of oneself.
Right. Of humanity in a sense, right?
Yeah. So, and it's not just the Black community. I have a lot of Latin friends that feel the same thing. Like anytime you're doing anything that feels like it's not, I think I heard someone put this really well, of confusing like low income / hood culture with your like ethnic culture, and whether that be Latino or Black, you're not just what you see in like a music video or how they depict you in a TV show. We are like much more than that.
Yeah, bring that up. I mean, like I did feel for, which I think is interesting at the end of the movie, right? So Mary, who you're talking about with the colorism, right? Back in those times, I think the term was like octoroon. It was like the one drop rule, right? And, I did feel for her character when she said, she never wanted to go in that area. Like she didn't want to marry a white man. She didn't want to do any of that kind of stuff. So it really kind of put in perspective how this construct of colorism really boxed people in and didn't allow people to be free in a sense.
Yeah, I had like two thoughts there, and they're like battling, and sometimes my brain can't hold on to multiple thoughts at once, so I might lose one. But I think it's you that said like, oh man, the problem with Mary was like the moment she went and tried to get some white money, it was all fucked up for her.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to lose that original thought because that one was just making me laugh because we had this conversation before.
Yeah.
No, it's the one drop rule. I think is one of the biggest jokes that's coming back really hard to affect white society as a whole. Because like as the census like continues with like the dwindling population, there is this like threat they're feeling of becoming the minority group, whether it's not an immediate threat, but you're talking about 15, 20 more years as like, you know, this is a country of immigrants. People are constantly immigrating from all over the world. And that one drop rule in interracial relationships threatens that number. So it's like, man, if the joke's on you for this one drop rule, because anytime you're like one drop of any race that's not white, you become that other race.
Right.
So that's your fault.
And that breaks down the foundation of this aspect of segregation and all those other things, because it's like it just doesn't stack up. It just doesn't stand, you know. And the thing that you brought up that I said about like the minute she went and tried to get white money is also something I found interesting in this movie, right? Money seems to be the cause of all the problems because they were having a good time in the juke joint until they realized, oh my gosh, we're not making any money. I think it's Smoke that says to Annie, I've gone all around this world and I ain't even seen any demons, no ghosts, no anything. All I've ever seen is money and power. So the minute that they go after the money and Mary uses her proximity to whiteness to go get the money, that lets everything break loose. She's let back in because she can pass between both worlds, and that starts everything falling down. And then at the very end, as Smoke is starting to transition, he's starting to see Annie and the baby. He's pulled back into the reality because Hogwood, as he's dying, goes, look, I have some money, you know. And that's when he kills Hogwood, because it seems like money is the only thing that matters. Not your soul, not your spirit, not your talent, just money. Can I buy this off of you?
Well, I think, you know, one thing that we haven't discussed in any of our conversations was the movie's called Sinners. And I haven't caught all of them. Granted, because I only watched the movie once, but the inclusion of like the 7 deadly sins throughout the movie itself.
Oh, I've seen it 3 times and I didn't think about that.
Well, greed right away, you know, was the number one. Money, 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 money. And we're seeing that in our society right now as everyone's burnt out because like trickle-down economy didn't work, right? The lust. I mean, he had that whole tap that old flame.
That is true. That's how he got it. Somebody made a joke about the reason the devil was after Sammy is because he had that marinated you know.
I love I guess the actress really is like a quarter black or something. I just love the train station. It's like she turns around and he's like, you sure she's not?
Oh, yeah.
That's why movie's so goddamn cheeky. But lust. I mean, he pretty much died for lust. He was lusting after that married black woman. Lust is definitely there.
Yeah. Adultery, because the woman was married. What's her name?
Yeah, that's what I still think it falls under lust, but yeah, the married black woman. Pride and ego is definitely there. You know, across the Stack brothers themselves and Remick. Even Preacher Boy was a bit prideful. So the pride was there. You know, I haven't caught sloth yet or gluttony. I guess wrath you can kind of chuck up to any violence. Envy I thought was interesting because like you have the envy of white culture every time we're doing something for ourselves. And that's what I think about the KKK sheriff dude.
Yeah, Hogwood. Yeah,
okay. I'm really bad with names. But he never was going to have them succeed. Like historically at that time, anytime black people had more money than a white person, it was set to go south. So I've been trying to like catch all the 7 deadly sins throughout Sinners, but the cultural comparison of envy is I find fascinating because to me that one still goes on very regularly, and it's a hard one to break. And when we think about culture vultures, we're just saying cultural appropriation, and it's just maybe my own personal philosophy or thought of it is that once we can get to a place of cultural appreciation over cultural comparison, we'll start moving into a better direction, because no culture is inherently better. It's just different. And if we can start appreciating people for their differences instead of stacking and comparing the differences, we can move forward in a more productive way.
I mean, that's a beautiful way of putting it. You've also got me now thinking about the 7 deadly sins, and I'm trying to go through all of them in the movie as well, because I mean, gluttony would be an alcoholic be considered gluttony? Because that would be like Delta Slim and
assuming more than you can handle. Oh, okay. The dude with the alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it was the Irish beer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All you can consume.
Right. Exactly. Okay. That was the thing that sold him to switch from his regular job.
This is why it's such a collaborative industry. Some people just put things together in ways that you didn't.
Yeah. It's art. I love that. Man, see, now I'm going to have to go back and really think about the 7 deadly sins, which brings me to, while I'm trying to think about it, a character we haven't touched on, because we touched on Mary, the white passing. We've touched on Sammy. I actually want to go a little deeper in Sammy, and you were talking about Christianity. We talked about Delta Slim, that scene with him where he's talking about how the blues came to pass, where he started singing. I saw an interview where he said that was just improv, and kudos to Delroy for that. Yeah, I'm saying on a first name.
Phenomenal actor.
Yeah. Just brilliant, choosing to make that choice. The pain to start humming and singing, and that's, that is the blues. We talked about the Smokestack Twins. Man, I can't. That's a tongue twister.
It's all good.
Where the pride But I had a question for you. What do you think about Grace and Bo? They're the Chinese shop owners.
I felt it's a loaded fucking question, because you just smiled at me. My fiance is Chinese.
That's why I want to get your perspective.
Yeah, I thought it was great, because with a little bit of research and just knowing historically, they were able to move as they are now between both communities seamlessly. So like they had a store for the black folks, and then they had a store for the white folks, and they're just kind of caught in the middle, which it still feels that way in this whole like model minority thing. I think Grace got a lot of flack for like opening the door and bringing in the chaos, but she was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like she was trying to make sure they don't go home and get her daughter, which, I mean, that was never gonna win. She was in a lose-lose situation.
Right.
You go out, you die, and join your daughter. You let them in and fight. You die. They go home and get your daughter anyway.
Right.
But at some points there, I think they kind of put that kind of like Emmett Till situation there of like the uncle when the clan came for Emmett was like, it's either the boy or your whole family, and that's like an impossible choice.
A Sophie's choice kind of thing. Yeah.
But I love to see us as allies, because I think we're regularly pitted against each other in society. And I'll tell you, just I'm uncomfortable in Asian spaces as much as probably an Asian person is in black spaces. I think that my own personal experience, one group is actually a little bit more accepting than the other one. And I think I was talking to an old vet, and I love talking to old vets who served in this country, because it's the duality and the internal confliction of like feeling not respected as a black veteran for everything you do for this country, while simultaneously having pride for fighting for your country. Is like so wild. And this particular vet I was talking to fought in the Korean War, and we were talking about, I was coming fresh off of Sinners after when I met him, and I was like, man, it does suck that the black community doesn't get enough respect for the rights that we all have as Americans, and other racial groups constantly just see us as like thugs or the problem. You're going to be the angry black man or the angry black woman in the workplace, when like the majority of people wouldn't have the freedoms that they have now without us fighting for ourselves and everyone.
Yeah. That is, as I say, like it's a perspective I don't think that gets talked about a lot. Like, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for base level humanity, I guess is the best way to put it. You know, it's like when you've seen the darker side of humanity, you're choosing to not let somebody else feel that. It's not just about you. It's about no one should feel that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's we've been kind of like duped. I mean, critical thinking in our country, as again, I'll only speak to what I know. In our country is it's in a crapshoot. And I say that because if you look out into the world globally, I mean, everyone has a problem. You have the cartel, the Yakuza, the Triad, the Mafia, the Russian. You have these gangs and drug runners and drug dealers and gun runners, like whether you're in the Middle East or in some like small, tiny island. This is like a low income, lack of education, like opportunity. Like this is what you think you have to do to get by, and you're looking for the fastest dollar. This is not a problem of any one specific racial group, or you wouldn't have these things in every other country when it's
classism.
It is classism, but the word I'm looking for is like a homogenous, like there's only one race in this country, and you still have this problem. It's not just black people.
I will go a little nerdy with this and the deep thing. I do find it interesting. Speaking of Bo and Grace, that the character that's getting the most flack in that aspect is the one that's named Grace, Yeah. And the whole point of the whole movie is called Sinners. And it's like the one person that should have grace is Grace, because you're right. She is put through a rock and a hard place. And then on like the nerdy, probably people getting, things that Ryan Coogler didn't intend. I saw somebody say something about, which I thought was beautifully done, how they're on both sides of the street, right? Because, there's the white store and the black store. So they're kind of like the bridge between the two races in this community. They're able to flow in between. But when Grace stabs her husband at the end, it also shows like a bridge and it's burning, which some people interpret that as, when you're talking about we're allies, we're all allies until we get put in a position where we have to think about ourselves. And when we do that, that's when the whole thing burns down. That's when it all...
Self-preservation.
Yeah. Exactly. And to your point, it's really hard to then judge somebody when they're put between a rock and a hard place, and they got to think, am I doing this for the community, or am I going to do this for my immediate family? And I think that's a beautiful way of interpreting that whole scene and giving Grace a little grace.
Yeah, I give Grace all the grace, because she was going to lose. There was like no way of her realistically say it. Like she gets turned, they go home and turn her daughter. They open the doors, their chances of losing were really great, which they did, and then they go home and turn her daughter anyway. Like, it's just the chances were so slim of her ever really saving her daughter from this.
Yeah, she just wanted to go out like a boss, I guess, in that aspect.
I mean, I guess she did, because they all died. She did, yes.
Yeah, she was she's I think killed the first vampire. She stabbed both straight up while being on fire. Like she was like, I'm taking you out with me.
You're not going home and getting our girl.
No.
So I hope in that case Grace's daughter comes back as an older lady,
a vampire hunter.
Yeah.
That'd
be dope.
What did you think about the...
Maybe Michelle Yao.
You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first. What did you think about the ending with Sammy?
The alternate ending or the regular ending? Not the alternate ending, but like the extra credit scene, or
the extra credit scene?
Yeah.
Both.
Sammy leaving going back to his dad and choosing to go out anyway. I think he still did what was right for him. He was never going back to the church, and he would have dealt with faith on his own terms. And it resonated with me, because I feel like as someone who grew up in the church and went to Catholic school, I asked too many questions. And it doesn't mean I'm a heathen. I just decided to deal with faith between me and God.
Yeah. That's kind of... As someone who's a man of faith myself, that's something I got out of it. The production designer, I can't remember her name right now, but she actually was tweeting out some interesting things. And she was saying like the scene where it's Sammy and his father in the church, the crosses, they represent the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. And that's kind of what Sammy and the Father kind of represent in that aspect. And that they're all 33 inches apart, which is about the age when Jesus started his thing.
Don't somebody talk about the gone years of Jesus.
Yeah, well, that's a different podcast. We can go down that route. Completely different. But I really thought it was interesting, because the very end credit scene where Sammy's playing This Little Light of Mine in the church, but he's playing it like a blues musician. It goes back to the beginning of the movie where his father says, when you come in, I want you to lead the kids choir in This Little Light of Mine. And what I love about that ending scene, which I think encapsulates the whole movie being called Sinners, is it's Sammy using the light that he has, the talent that he has, in the way it is that is best for him, which is playing blues music. It may not be in a church setting atmosphere the way that his father, the rules that his father said it should be. He's letting his light shine. He's letting his light shine the way that it should. And it's bringing joy to people. It's bringing happiness to people. It's not making people heathens for a moment, which I think ties into the second thing. For a moment, people get to be free with all their faults, with all their mistakes, with all their choices. For a moment, they just get to live. And I think that, I know for me, when I saw that mid-credit scene where Stack says, for a moment, we got to be free, I almost broke down crying because I know what that feels like. When you don't have the judgment, you don't have the pressure to try to be a perfect human being. You're just allowed to be for a moment. It is, I think, what is truly free. And I think that's the whole point of, if you think biblically, Jesus saying like, all of us are sinners, we've all fallen short, is like, there's no room to judge everybody. Instead, we should all be just for a moment trying to help each other. Not going to get on the sermon, but that's just what I thought about the whole thing.
Yeah, I think there's something, I recently discovered a book, I think it's like The Body Keeps the Score, and it's about the physical stress on your body of like trauma. And when you are in a position to be completely uninhibited by the pressures of either your surroundings or society, it is freeing, and it does feel good. I think when I moved out to California, I was jobless for like a year and some change, and I didn't really have like a stable place. I was like crashing with people. There was something oddly freeing about living out of a duffel bag. And I'm doing decently now, I guess. I have a kid, I have a family, but it's still like, but then the pressures change, and there was something just freeing. So yeah, it's that freedom is different for everyone, but yeah, I get it. Yeah, and then the end credit scene, I like how they didn't turn him, and they let him he still wanted to go out on his terms, the way he lived.
Yeah, that I respected. I respected the love and respect they still had for him, despite the fact that they were vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy movie. You brought up some other shows that you told me about. What you just said there brought up some other shows, which I think we'll talk about in a future podcast. But the John Hamm Apple.
Oh yeah, we're gonna save it because that one. That our friends and neighbors will just drop it because that's awesome. That's really good questions. Yeah. But again, love the movie. There's so much to dig into. You've seen it 3 times. I gotta catch up because there's a lot, and it's all hard to do and the time it takes to do a podcast because we can keep finding new things to pick at that completely correlate and are still relevant right now in society, and Coogler's pulling from some real places, and it's dope. And we didn't really get into the music. We talked about that one sequence, but really the music from start to finish was used so beautifully. And I actually found one person that found the music distracting, but I thought the sound design and music together, the way they transitioned and bled things in and out, it was perfectly weaved into this movie. And that's what I'm looking forward to going. I already listened to the soundtrack, but I'm really going back to study what's called the J cuts and the L cuts of how they use audio to glue scenes together, and it's that scene where she lights the match and it goes straight into the music. Even the preacher boy, that high note when the roof's on fire, to the pan down to Remick was just so seamless to me.
Also, I realized listening to it was auto-tuned. So to your whole thing is going so future, because rap music ends up using autotune at some point in time. I was like, that's insane.
I know it feels like we're wrapping this up soon, but we also didn't I want to redo a little bit more research for the cultural relevancy of making Remick Irish and folk music. I know Ryan said his name, Ryan Coogler, one of his names is Irish, and he's always been fascinated with that. But yeah,
it sounds to me like we're going to have to do a second podcast because you're also Irish, Mr. Malone. You're right. We didn't touch on the Choctaw Indians and the Irish connection, and I'm also Indian. It's wild. This movie is definitely for me. But
I come from a multi-generational, multi-ethnic family. And, my Irish family members in Massachusetts grew up sandwiched next to Black people. And they were like seamlessly intertwined with each other's. And I grew up in this really sheltered way of not seeing a racial divide because we were all equals, both like wealthy people doing good for themselves on both sides, as well as like people doing shit they shouldn't do on both sides. So, I kind of grew up in a definitely a sheltered, special way of like never experiencing early on that major difference. So I think one of the things I bring to my own storytelling is like, I see people as people.
Right.
I'm not saying I don't see color. Right. Because it exists.
Yes.
But I think both when creating stories and when I'm going into projects that I'm producing, I look for things that transcend the boxes we put each other in, because the core essence of the human experience, we all feel regardless of where we're from, which is why this movie's still resonant no matter like what you. Everyone knows what it's like to experience loss.
Yes.
People are showing grace because that's an impossible choice for any person.
Right. This is why I like art. I think it is the thing that connects us, like it is the thing, to your point, which is why we started, our journey in this business, is because we all share the same human experiences, despite the culture, despite the region, despite, being on the other side of the world. We can all resonate with these feelings of I'm not good enough, these feelings of I don't belong here, these feelings of you can't cross that side of the street. All of those things that I think encompasses this movie so brilliantly. It also inspired me, like, I need to work on my craft. Like, I really need to dig deep.
Oh, yeah. The Sinners is definitely a movie that makes you want to, like, do the thing that you say you want to do. It's easy to get analysis paralysis because you want something to be perfect or good. But I recommend everyone, as we wrap this up, you clearly know Sinners was directed by Ryan Coogler. Go listen to some of the early episodes of Proximity Media, his podcast. He talks about his journey with his founder. Or go listen to Team Deacons, Roger Deacon's podcast. He interviews Ryan Coogler. Coogler is not shy about sharing his experience. Like he says through Veil, he kind of felt like he was out of his depths. Like he'd never managed almost $1 million before. And then he went to Creed and got 30 million and again felt underwater. And then again with Black Panther, he never managed close to $200 million. And again, it's go back to the original thing I said, like sometimes we're expected to know everything and you're never going to know everything. So just start doing something.
100%. Get out there. Live your passion.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's kind of like, getting to the end here. We're going to wrap things up. You want to give them your, where the follow the Shaka at?
For the Instagram social media stuff. Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram at Shaka Omari, or you can follow our production company at OpenQ Productions on IG, which is pretty much where we're at most of the time.
Yeah. And then we're going to stand this up on the YouTube, which we do, the whole deal with the like and subscribe. And you can follow me in the grocery store because I don't have social media. Don't follow me in the grocery store.
Trader Joe's, you're going to have an influx of people. Well, thank you for listening to our first podcast, and we will catch you on the flip side. The Open Q is an OpenQ production. If you like the show, be sure to follow, rate, and review it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. And tell your friends and fam to do the same. Also, feel free to share a link to someone who you think might really enjoy this conversation. The music you're currently listening to is Delta Slim from the movie Sinners, composed by Ludwig Göransson. Until next time, see you in the queue.